Robin Swoboda, Casey Coleman on sports, and Dick Goddard with weather. This is News Center 8.
Good evening, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Here's what's happening. The center of China's capital city explodes in gunfire. The target, buildings housing American diplomats and their families. This was Beijing Wednesday, a city and a nation even more unstable than the day before, and sinking deeper and deeper by the hour into chaos.
In the United States, the warning becomes a plea for all Americans to get out of China as fast as they can, any way they can. News Center 8's Martin Savage, who has been monitoring the situation for several days now, has the very latest. Marty?
Robin and Tim, right now in Beijing, the residents there are getting their first look, early look at Thursday morning. It is just after 7 o'clock in the morning in the capital city. And with it, they hope to learn more about where the Army is and where the Army is going. Apparently, it is the troop movements that give the real telltale sign as to what actually may be going on and what may be to come. The Army has been seen moving to the eastern edge of the city. Residents fear it is for a major showdown with other Army units that surround the capital. In Beijing, Wednesday brought more gunfire from troops, more death to civilians, and more fear for foreigners.
All of a sudden, the soldiers started shooting into the air. People dropped behind the hedge, but within about 3 seconds, they were up again. So they really weren't afraid. The shots into the air, as far as we see, didn't hit anyone, but did hit one window in the hotel.
But on other occasions, the aim was far more intentional. Chinese troops fired on a diplomatic compound in the central part of Beijing, where some American diplomats and their families live. Witnesses say apartments on several floors were hit, including one occupied by the children of an American official. There were no reports of injuries. The Chinese troops claimed they were shooting at a sniper in the compound that had killed a Chinese soldier. It was that event that triggered an ordered evacuation of American dependents and the stern plea from the State Department for all Americans to leave China right away.
In light of that, the Secretary of State and our ambassador are strongly urging all American citizens to leave China.
In just a few hours, 2 U.S. chartered aircraft are scheduled to land at Beijing Airport, which is crowded with foreign nationals trying to leave. A Continental DC-10 and a United 747 will be able to carry out nearly 650 Americans who wish to leave. Prior to the weekend's bloodshed, there were some 10,000 Americans believed in China. Now, there has also been violence reported in a number of other major Chinese cities. That violence is continuing. There was also protest and riots last night in the area of Hong Kong, in which riot police had to be called in to put down those protests. Also, too, we should tell you that in Beijing, again, they are waiting for that final foot to fall. They know that the 27th Army has moved to the eastern edge of the city. The fear is that it will soon be waging war with the other armies that surround the city. It is a form of retaliation to the bloody massacre over the weekend. There is good news, though, to report, and that is about 5 Ohio college teachers who were from the Cedarville area and Cedarville College. They had been working at the University of Beijing. We have been told now at this hour that they have managed to get out of Beijing and have apparently arrived safe and sound in Hong Kong. Hopefully, many more Americans will follow their trail. Robin and Tim.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Well, who will be the next CMHA director? That's the question being asked this evening following word George James will step down before the end of the year.
For months now, tenant groups and many political leaders have been calling for his ouster. News Center 8's Wayne Dawson is here and says that's one reason James has decided to resign.
That's right, Tim. In his first 6 years on the job, George James has become a target, indeed for some, the whipping boy for all that's wrong with CMHA. Because of that, for the last few months, he's been pondering his future here, and he has had several discussions with George Forbes and CMHA Board Chairman James Carney.
The contract was up for renewal this month, and Carney had told the mayor and I at the last meeting that they would talk to George and see what it is he wanted to do. But George and I had been talking for 6 months about this, and I indicated to him it's with this being an election year, politicians are going to call for a scalp, and he's going to blame him for everything that was going on. And I think behind that he decided, why be bothered with it?
Reportedly, James is thinking about seeking his Ph.D. or possibly a position with another big city housing authority.
I think he decided, why jeopardize the rest of his career?
Today, James could not be reached for comment. So the search will begin for a replacement. a $95,000 a year job with awesome responsibility. And whomever is selected will inherit a housing authority some call the second worst in the entire nation, behind Chicago's. CMHA's troubles are glaring. Public and private audits have revealed management problems. There have been threats of a federal takeover. Drugs are sold openly in many CMHA projects. And last year, the authority was forced to sign a memorandum of agreement with HUD under the threat of losing federal funding if maintenance was not improved. But some, including CMHA spokesman Eric Brewer, feel James has gotten a bad rap.
I think one of the biggest problems is that everyone focuses on the central area and the problems there, but they don't see the other things that are going on in the surrounding estates, plus some of the developments that's happened in Central.
To his credit, James has overseen the rehabilitation of several estates, including the once dilapidated Riverside Park projects. And he has attracted more federal dollars than any director in the authority's history, $75 million in 6 years. Once again, James has not informed the board of his decision. He is expected to make the announcement on Monday, and the board will then hire a deputy director to run the agency until a permanent replacement is found.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. CMHA officials are saying it's the lack of money that is behind the probable elimination of the one-on-one care program for elderly CMHA residents. News Center 8's Bill McKay reports everyone agrees it's a great program. Still, its chance for survival is slim.
I think they're the best guys in the world. I just wouldn't want to be without them 1 minute.
They are but a handful of men scattered about the projects, ex-cons, part of a re-entry program, on limited salary, protecting, helping, and caring for elderly residents. In part, this is why they may soon be gone.
The city slapped us with 3,000 housing code violations. We have to use our financial resources to handle those maintenance problems that they came up with.
And they go on to talk about HUD requirements and the $12,000 a month it costs to run the CARE project, and the recommendation that it be dropped.
They can find the money if they want to, and don't think they don't. They can do it.
As for the man who started the CARE project 5 years ago, he now wonders too.
I think it would be a shame. And I think not only CMHA should have some concern, and they do have some concern about these citizens, but we've got city government, the community as a whole. We are responsible for the care and keeping of these senior citizens, and I think that this town has got to come together to see what it can do to see that these kinds of services continue for its senior citizens. It's just a must, Bill.
As the man said, once again, the apparent victims are those behind the iron gates, those whose world is mostly a window, those who are mostly alone, mostly helpless, and mostly friendless.
They took me to the hospital, they shopped for me. They're the finest team I've ever known, and we appreciate it.
You don't want to see him go?
No, sir.
The trustees of the CMHA will meet next week and decide if the CARE teams stay or go. I'm Bill McKay, News Center 8, Cleveland.